Downwind Dialogue. I don't even remember. This is the real Downwind Dialogue, by the way. um, thanks to Maddie for putting these on. Here with Scotty McNally, Scott McNally. This guy has been, he's pretty much day one Voyager. For those of you guys who don't know, and I've actually reflected and, you know, I've told people like, you know, like sport has grown and evolved so much in the past couple years, but Scotty has been on the mainland with his lady snowboarding and stuff, so he's actually been out of the scene for a few years. But the real OGs and the real, you know, ambassador of the sport know who this guy is. He's like I said, he's been around since day one. He was everybody's inspiration from the early days, mine included. He was, you know, one of the most talented, he is the most talented prone foilers. Was ripping, you know, so hard early on and just was already head and shoulders above so many guys in the early days. He was, you know, ripping like how Bennett rips now, but like 4 years ago, you know. I ran into Scotty. We both grew up on the South Shore. Actually, my first time, I don't know if like you know, remember this, but I used to surf graveyards in Squeeze-A-Lot.
Yep.
And I would see you come out with that guy. And I think a few times I saw you on a bodyboard, you know, and then you started surfing, and then I got into lifeguarding.
The guy with the tattoos.
Yeah, you guys would always like, you know,
Post
have
up.
a safety meeting on
Yes.
Crazy Beach, and then paddle out.
Yep.
And yeah, I remember like you were like just learning how to surf. I don't know if he was like your mentor
That
at the
was
time.
20 years ago. Yeah, it
It was 20 years ago, bro.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
More, almost.
And then, bro, I remember coming back as a lifeguard, or just patrolling, or just seeing you come out to Queens, or I think I ran into you one time, even at Keiko's on a West Rapswell, and you were riding the Robin Johnson seed board, and like at the time, like the Hypto Crypto came out, and everyone was like chirping on Craig Anderson
right.
and the Hypto Crypto.
Had
I remember
the seed.
I remember seeing you ripping, and I was like, oh my gosh, bro, this is the guy I saw like just learn how to surf a couple years ago, you know? Bro, I was tripping, you know? And I remember paddling up to you like, bro, is that the seed? And like, just, bro, you're just like, yes, bro, Johnson boards is sick, you know? And like, I got one right after that, bro. Like, but
That board goes.
funny little B-roll story.
Yeah, that board goes.
But yeah, hopefully to just bring you back into the, I mean, not even bring you back into it, but just kind of reflect back on the good old times, you know, of foiling and the progression, and it's cool now because we'll get into it later, but like we had you come back to help instruct the Voyager camps, and it was cool because like I said, like for the people who just got into the sport within the last 2 years, you know, they were like, who's this guy with a beard? And we're like, bro, all of us were like, bro, that's the wizard, bro, you know. But they had no idea, you know, because I think my first Voyager clip too is you on it was the very first day you guys got the lift 170s, and you
Me and Jack.
yeah let's talk about that day. Let's talk about your inspirations growing up surfing. How let's just start like a book. What's your introduction, bro?
Wow, when I was a kid, my dad used to take us to Waimanalo, and I used to go straight on the boogie board, but that I don't know, that didn't really stick. I was just playing at the beach. And then I think I must have been about 10 years old, and I was hanging out with Charles Fosse, Frank Fosse's grandson. And his dad, I guess Frank Jr., was, I don't know, I forget his name, might have been that. He liked to surf, and or boogie board, and he would take us to walls on boogie boards. And we were playing still on the public side of walls, so we weren't even at graveyards yet. And I remember catching a wave, and it was the first time I got out onto the face, and wasn't just in like
The white water.
Waimanalo white water going straight, and I was planing, and that was it. That was it. I remember being like, holy moly. And I don't even think we were using fins, and the reef was sharp, and I remember like making duct tape booties for just the bottom of my feet, like covering the bottom of my feet in duct tape and then cutting the edges so I could like kind of like walk on the reef so I could jump up onto the waves.
Bodyboard launch style.
bodyboard launch style. Yep. And then I was super into boogie boarding for years. I was like a wall rat for sure. I used to catch the bus at 6:30 in the morning from my parents' house and just go solo to walls, and I'd stay there until I was just cooked, hungry, no water.
Mm-hmm. I grew up with Kale like that. We'd go to the summertime, get dropped off at the beach super early. We'd probably pool the dollars that we had. Like I have $2, Kale has $2, and we would split a teriyaki chicken bowl from Jack in the Box.
Bro, I was at Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
2 tacos for $1.
Boom, all day. You just be at walls all day, sand sliding.
Bro, that was the zone.
Yeah.
And then I started drop knee, and then I was hanging out with kids that boogie boarded, but then started surfing, and I was like, nah, you guys are lame. I remember thinking boogie boarding was cool. You had there was tricks, there's rolls and spins and corked rolls, and you could get barreled, and you could drop knee, and you could prone, and it just seemed trickier.
Yeah.
And then when I was watching surfing clips at the time, I mean, this is in 96 to 2000, and the surfing then was not super progressive. It was vertical, but to me surfing clips looked kind of boring. The guys was just going up and down and up and down, and now I'm like, dang, I like it when guys go up and down and up and down. And I had a couple surfing experiences that felt like the board was hard and slippery and fast. I kind of didn't vibe with it at first, but all my friends started surfing, so at a certain point I think it was my 15th birthday, and I went to Turbo Surf, and I bought a Mike Woo with what was that old style fin system that Taylor Knox used, where you had to put the screw through the deck?
I remember that.
Lockbox,
yeah.
Was lockbox fins, Mike Woo board. I think it was a 6.60 or a 6.1, like 90s dimensions. I was probably 140 pounds, riding like a
6.0,
like a 6.1 by 18 and a quarter. And I just went for it, and I went to Tongs, and I went right at Tongs a lot because I was regular footed, and that was the start of it. And I remember just attacking Tongs for a long time. And then I think I started surfing rock piles a little bit and concessions. Kind of avoided bowls. I avoided Kiwalos for a while. I avoided a lot of lefts. I surfed graveyards and then graduated to Sulis once I was in high school.
Yeah. Whenever I think back of just our natural ocean origin story into where we are now, every step of your life was mandatory in order to shape and mold you for foiling.
100%.
Yeah. So how did you get into foiling? What was that like?
I remember the first time I saw it. It was in Waikiki. We were doing I think it was Duke's Fest, and Kahi and I were riding Alaya, and they had a foil exhibition. I think Go Foil was the only foil company at the time.
I was working the tower that day. I remember seeing that.
Yep, and it was
we were there at the same time,
Laleo and
the other surfer guy. What was his name?
Had a couple other guys, but I remember Laleo was a short little stand-up pill thing. The thing was probably a 5'10" or something, thick and wide, and kind of shaped like a seed, kind of. And I was wearing this really cool coconut frond hat during that comp, and Laleo was like, "Oh, you guys should try. You and Kai go." And we're like, "Yeah, for sure. We'll figure this out." And paddled out with my hat because it was super sunny, and the cracks I took trying to take off and handle that destroyed my hat. I was launching, stand up and just straight.
And this is at Queens?
At Queens, so much power. And we just had no concept of.
How big do you think the wing was at that time?
Pretty huge with crazy camber. So the most low end, more low end than anyone could handle these days.
Yeah. Especially at
straight
Queens too, right?
ejector.
Yeah.
It was probably a 200 with ton of camber. And we came in humbled, like, shoot, we don't know how to do that. But it planted seeds, and somehow, I think Kamaki led Kahi aboard. It was a Go Foil, was the Kai, so a little bit smaller, a little less nuts. And we tried that thing. Forget where we went, but one day we went to Baby Makapu, and that was like the first day that.
Another place with tons of power.
Right? Yeah, kind of. It was pretty soft and kind of like wind swelling, and I remember thinking, just treat it like that Waimea Bay.
You got it.
Just drop in and stay low and just really, really handle it like you're dropping in on a huge wave, and it worked. Yeah. It like let me get down the line on foil. But I was scared. I thought, this is a good way to hurt yourself. Yeah. It's mostly what it felt like. And it felt like that for the first eight times, maybe 10 times. I was like, this is so dangerous. I don't think that this is possible to ride without just being inherently too sketch.
So what year was this probably?
Oh.
2018?
No. 15?
2015?
Maybe, because I think I bought my first foil in 2017. And this was well before, like, these were just like experiments with foiling, right? I think. I mean, we could find out. Yeah. We'll check them out.
Check them out.
It was 2015 and 2017. Maybe it was 2016.
Because I think what's crazy is, I remember remembering back to that time and just having some general curiosity about it, but we had no like resources or infrastructure to like for people to get into it. Like, I was like, yeah, well, where do you get one of these boards? And a lot of times guys were trying to chop off wave swarms and put boxes in it just because we had no idea, or where do I get one of these things, or like how do I start? And
my first board was an e-board. I had boxes installed in.
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, my first board was attached to the Nash that I bought, and it was a fish, like a 5'8" fish,
giant,
20 something inches wide, like a regular surfing board with boxes installed in it. I don't think I ever even wrote it. I was like, this is not it.
You didn't even try it?
Nah.
You just took the foil?
I just took the foil. I might have sold the board. I might have given it away. But I had this cool little knee board. It was probably a 311 or like a 4.2 I found on the beach at Sui's one day. And I had Atsushi put carbon and boxes in it. And I had surfed it already it was a single fin. It was a little knee board. I called it the Yam. Yeah, yellow little thing. It's so cool. I still have it, but one day at Kahana, I don't know, the boxes straight ripped out of the board, and we lost the Nash. Sacrifice to Kahana.
Yeah,
it's okay.
With it,
it's okay.
Man, those were wild times, and yeah, I think my first session I paddled out like 2 to 3 foot bumper. I was thinking it was gonna be fine, and
holy shit.
Yeah, like, looking back at it now, Bumber is a super girthy. There's tons of energy, and it's like not a great place to learn.
Terrible, even.
Yeah, terrible.
Well, we used to learn at Cromwell's.
Oh yeah,
like we thought that was good.
Guys would. I remember pulling up the ski and watching guys, and I saw a guy kind of like come in and surf it into the pool, and thought that was so cool.
Oh yeah. I remember surfing it into a pool was
the
fire.
Longest wave I've ever seen.
Like, yeah.
Like, and nobody was pumping back out yet.
No.
Because, I don't know, the gear or just the skill wasn't there yet. But I remember seeing a guy, and I was just blown away that wow, he just surfed the wave into the pool at Cromwell's. And being blown away.
Into the pool at Cromwell's is pretty sick, yeah.
That's pretty sick. And it was a girthy wave right there.
And how funny would that seem now to ride a wave all the way into there for no reason? You'd be like, dang, I'm gonna paddle back out.
Paddle back out. Yeah, and it's just, but we were so frothy. Like, I would definitely sacrifice it. Like, when I started learning at Pops, I would try and ride as far as I could, like to the Sheraton wall, and I would be pumped to paddle back out, just because it was like,
what a ride!
The longest wave of my life, man. Yeah, it was wild. And then so gear started getting better. I think another first thing I remember seeing was I was working the lifeguard tower at Kaimana Beach, and it was like a novelty swell southeast or something. It was a weird angle, and you were already ripping at the time. It might have been just you and Adam. Adam might have been riding, like, was he riding signature, or he might have been on a
So this is we were like
Foil
well
or
we were well
signature?
into it then, huh?
You guys were probably years in and already ripping and already like kind of leading the foil charge on the South Shore for sure. I remember watching you guys take off at a wave at Sui's, make it across Channel Bowls, outside Tongs, Rice Bowls, Sandbar, and in.
The
And
first shore runners.
first shore runner. And I had started foiling. I was, catching my waves out at Pops. And I like got out of my tower and I walked up to you guys and was like, I saw that, bro. Like, that was wild. You know? And I was pumped because that was the longest wave that I've ever seen. And that was a shore runner, And then I think at that time my brain started thinking, well, how far can we ride these things, And that was like I said, that wasn't really a downwind at the time.
No,
It was just like
a wave.
a wave,
Down-
like traversing
Yeah,
down the coast.
down waver.
A down waver. Yeah. I remember walking up to you guys and I had to like express like how stoked I was just to watch that.
Was pretty nuts those
Pretty
days.
nice. Yeah.
I remember one time I caught a wave at the peak at Sui's and stayed in the crest, and it went all the way across the channels, was so bent at Gravies, I stayed in it through Gravies, all the way through Wench,
Inches.
and one wave all the way from Sui's into Tongs.
That day?
One wave. Not even
one
pull
small
out.
line.
Yeah, not even pull out, just ride the line the whole way. It was tapped.
Yeah. Yeah. There'll be nothing that will ever replicate that first
That's
sensation.
exactly what I was just gonna say.
That first sensation and feeling and stoke as a surfer, because when we surf we're just like attacking a wave, and we get all our turns and our sensations in about 10 to 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I started foiling, that was the first thing that blew my mind, was like, wow, I'm just totally riding this wave beyond its capacity, breaking on the reef and just extending and having a great time, and
No, now the novelty has increased to the point where we have to go in between islands.
yeah. I mean, downwinding has definitely grown and molded into something. I mean, we just had the Voyager race yesterday, and so we see like the highest
It's a whole nother world.
form of like competition and racing and whatnot. And then in the early days, I always admired you because you had you were in a different realm of what you were like seeing and like approaching in Downwind. And it's crazy. Even like when we had when we were doing the film review for our campers, the first night, we were all trying to break down and explain to these guys how to see or read the bumps. You were dropping some huge nuggets for me that I was a student again, and I was pumped. I'm like, wow, I've actually seen all those things, but it's never crossed my mind to articulate, expand, or view bumps in the way that you expressed it. Like, I remember the first night you were like, the dark spots. And it was as simple as that. Because when the ocean's, moving and the light is hitting it, as it's in motion, right?
The refraction changes.
Yeah, the refraction changes, but the light and then the color of the bumps in the ocean change.
Yeah.
And Scotty was like, just follow the dark spots. And it was wild. I've never thought about that. But yeah, no, going back to your Kaiko's days, because I was a paddler and I was always about
How fast you can go.
fast and efficient and seeing linear lines of bumps and corduroy.
Yeah, you changed my approach.
Yeah. But no, but you were like seeing it as like a big skate arc and hitting this bowl and transferring this like coping.
For
this and that.
sure.
And my first critique was always, what is he doing? Like he's blowing it. He's going left, like the destination's that way. You know? But it was so, I think you were so ahead, or just, I don't know if it was you were like where downwinding is now. If we'd go out on a prone, we're downwinding in the way that you did, because it's fun, and that's what it was about. But it was profound because I think, what you were doing, and because we understand it now, is when you turn like that and take angles and stuff, or you just let bumps pass, and there's timing, and when you turn, you're creating lift. When you're letting bumps pass, it's almost like you're being patient and you have better flow with the ocean. It's kind of like getting barreled. You don't want to just step on the gas and just miss the whole barrel section, right? So there's a nice intimacy of being patient with the ocean and just trusting.
I think about Tom's first wave at J-Bay. You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's pretty sick. It's on YouTube. Look at Tom Curring's first wave at J-Bay. And he the way he approaches it is super deliberate, and he's tapping into all the different areas of power. Mm-hmm. And he's speeding up and slowing down. And I mean, I thought about it this morning. I was touching my surfboard, and I was like, frick, I love surfing so much.
Yeah.
And I guess somebody said, is foiling just like snowboarding? Because I've been snowboarding so much. Right. And it's not, because the foils turn off the pivot points kind of behind you. Mm-hmm. And that's like having skegs. Mm-hmm. And a snowboard, the pivot point is pretty variable, and you can change it to be the front foot so you can slide, and then you lose that surfy sensation. But like downwinding isn't, it's kind of like snowboarding, like on a cat track, but being locked into the tail and like swinging around, like I guess Tom's first wave, he's riding like a big long quad, like a 7.2, 7.4. How does it equate? It was a cool quad fin, I think, and it just I think that I started foiling because the waves aren't good enough, and it's for me it's about acceleration, and turning is acceleration. Mm-hmm. And so like the more turns you can do, like the more acceleration you feel, and that's what really makes me feel like I'm tapped in, and like then the mind checks out, and then we're just full flow. And every time you accelerate, it's hard to be thinking about much else mid acceleration. Mm-hmm. So the more we can accelerate, the more you're tapped into the flow, and the more the mind is off, and the more we're here. And so when the waves weren't good enough to shortboard in a way that was acceleration all the time, then foiling was like, oh wow, like it's 1 foot and we're at Waimea Bay and we're accelerating, like holy moly. And that led to, trying to rip on the foil, because tiny waves let you constantly be accelerating, but the paddle out is so long. Mm-hmm. And the wings were too big and the waves were too strong, except for Kahana. Mm-hmm. That place was just the right softness to like really lay into it. But I feel like a lot of the waves we were surfing were all like too strong. It's kind of like high speed surfing, like kind of big wave on a big board, and that's cool too. But I find I like tighter, more critical maneuver feelings than that. And so then when we started downwinding, it wasn't like, it was just an extension of the shore runner, which was how long of a ride can we get, and then, well, if we can drive cars back and forth, then we don't have to paddle back. Mm-hmm. And then it felt like, wow, we're gonna surf from Kaiko's to Tom's.
Yeah.
And the waves are weak. Mm-hmm. And there's hundreds of little bowls and pockets, and I mean, I'm a skateboarder too, so it's a curb, and then a little pump bump, and then a coping pod, and then, so I think that that's my roots, and that's why I'll never really be a racer, and I'll always just be a participant.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, and I've said this before. The more we downwind, you know, to somebody who hasn't downwinded, it just looks like one thing. But to somebody who's downwinded a lot and put a lot of miles in, a lot of hours in, there's so much versatility and different approaches and perspectives in downwinding alone, right? Racing is just one of them. What you're doing, surfing and having fun, is another one. You see guys who just like to just stand there and glide. Like they don't even turn, or they don't even like to go fast, but if they can just stand there and
I like that too.
you know, just feeling glide and sensation.
I like that one.
You know, there's guys who just love to just challenge themselves. So being
Yeah,
out
it's
there
cool.
quiet, and well, even when you downwind, when we downwind with groups of people, like everything's like, oh, I'm, you know, kind of racing, or this guy's moving fast, this guy's, and you know, and then we get separated, and maybe you're like, whatever, I'm not worried, I'll just start cranking turns. Or even when you're like solo and you go on these runs by yourself, you know, I feel like that's what's different about the Kaikos too, because we're always jumping in trucks together, jumping off together, seeing everybody catch waves, and then you're off and going, and just kind of was like a group thing. But what's cool about downwind is a lot of times we jump off a wall together, and then every man for himself, and then it's just you, your paddle, your foil, and 8 to 10 miles ahead of you, and it's
just a grander.
peaceful,
It's just a grander version of No Friends on a Downwinder.
yeah. Yeah. So what's it been like now, coming for the camp, and just kind of placing yourself in a position to take on a new craft, of a new sport,
man,
of just SCP.
I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
It was like I held onto prone foiling.
Well, before you even got this up, you were even foil driving. So,
Oh yeah,
tell us all the journeys of it. And
Well-
what it was like to be back out there for it all.
When I was in Utah, I saw everyone getting it, and I knew that at a certain point I was gonna probably need to and want to do this. But I had also been watching the amount of suffering, failure, hard work that was required, and it was an easy thing to say. Well, I'm not even in Hawaii, so I don't even gotta think about it right now. But when Kahi said, "Oh, come home for the camp, you can foil drive," you know, it's gonna be sup and foil driving with the foil drive. I said, "Okay, cool. Like, I'm sure I'll be able to foil drive. That's not a problem." But in my mind, I said, you know, this is you can crack the code on this trip, homie. Like, you should be able to. You have a whole month. You know, let's get on the sup. Let's pay our dues, and let's figure it out. You know, and we got back, and there was, I think, the first group only had two sup guys, Tito and Rob, and boys, and mostly foil drivers. So it was like easy to just hop on the foil drive, and those things are sick, man. Like,
What did you learn from, or what were some of the, express your sensations of downwinding with the foil drive and all that finesse?
you know, we learned in a no fall world. Like, you fall, you suffer, and it made it wickedly exciting, and the satisfaction of making it was always pretty huge, because there was a mental consequence and physical consequence to failure, and so those were richer experiences. I'll start with, those were richer experiences. Like, if you really want to feel and do it the way that, like, the way to be high on life is do hard things. So like, if you do it the hard way and then you succeed, it feels better than doing it the less hard way. However, the hard way is really, really fucking hard. So the foil drive was clear in that, I mean, we sent it from China's on a 2 out of 10 day a day. I would never ever consider going. Like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. You'd have to make every decision right and be so hydrated and ready to go to basically pump across the bay. And But there were bumps, just like you'd hit huge flat spots, or it'd just get tiny, and you would just get tired, like working it the whole way. But because foil drive let you just pop up and down, it was like a 2 out of 10 day. Actually, was more like a 4,
Yeah.
or almost a 5, because the risk of falling wasn't there, so you could just enjoy sections of bumps and then gas out and sit down, and you're out there and you're pretty much just good to go the whole way. One battery definitely can do a downwind run if if you're making it any amount of distance. And so that was sick. And I also watched the sup guys struggle like nobody. That first group had a hard go at it with some pretty light winds, and it's just hard. So that I wasn't interested in sup week 2 yet. But then week 2 came, and who was in week 2? Was that was PVC's gang?
Wagner.
Yep. Okay. So that
Gary
group,
Foster.
that was the first week that we did the flat water starts, and I didn't want to foil drive in flat water, so I took the sub and we did flat water starts on the sub. I recommend this for anyone trying to learn how to do this. Do it in flat water. Try your hardest to pop up in flat water. Like, try your hardest. Give it an hour of elevate like 150 heart rate, and like really give it your best. And if you're popping up and slapping, that's definitely you're almost there. And so you take that, and then you get out in the bumps, and it's just a matter of learning to balance and finding the moment.
Balance is like I think from what I learned watching everybody and
It's balance.
helping people, balance is the biggest
It's number one.
pillar.
It really is.
Like, it's not necessary for you to flat water start
Nope.
in order to take off in the bumps.
Nope.
You just got to give yourself a challenge of balance, and when that bump comes, then you can allocate all your power and application and paddling and pop right up. But balance is key, and that's why I said, like, for us growing up, from the moments of us rolling around in the shoreline, calibrating ourselves on boogie boards or surfboards, those are like 20-25 years of balance training.
Oh, for sure.
In a sense, and I'm totally grateful for my life and exposure to all those things. Not to say that you need 20 to 25 years of
No,
experience.
you don't,
It
but
just
it
takes
helps.
it takes a dedicated effort if you don't, and that's why going out in the flat and just kind of tuning up your technique and your approach and everything is key.
For sure.
Balance is everything.
For sure.
So week 2 you started, and I'll actually say, bro, he was looking really good. You were like, I think it was your first session I've seen you like on a SUP board, and
Yep.
you were like getting that action where you're starting to slap.
It was starting to slap, and I was like, okay. And then I think it was the next day, or maybe it was 2 days later, we had a kind of a light wind day, and I said, I'm just gonna
Try it.
try it, and we'll see how it goes. And it was hard to stand on the board. It was a little bit low leaders, but it was good. It was enough, and I learned that after a lot of hard trying, that it's not about trying hard. It's rarely about trying hard. It's usually about trying easy, but it's trying at the right moment is mostly what it was. And I got lucky. I don't know. I tried hard internally, but tried easy on the outside after 45 minutes, and we had success, and it was sick.
Yeah, I think what's neat about SUP foiling, downwind foiling, is that first step or that first process is you need to tune in your whole body, your whole attack, your whole approach with perfect harmony and timing in the ocean. And really, it's not a physical thing, like you said. It's more of just, and this was my mantra, and I was telling people in the Captis all the time. It's precision beats power and timing beats speed. And it's just recognizing, trusting, and having the experience of seeing the patterns or knowing what you go for or what to go for. And it's just being or taking the opportunity at the right moment, you know. And we saw us guys who were flat water starting in that first assessment day,
Ooh,
and they would go out there and they would just be paddling or running up the back.
100%.
And it was, and it goes to show it's really not a physical thing, and it's mental, and it's just kind of having a nice flow and rhythm and observation and good technique and timing with the ocean. Always, you know.
Truly is like it feels like when you're doing it right, you're dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to step on toes and be a big O.
Right.
You gotta slip yourself right into the pocket.
And then that's just the first recipe, right? Is just popping up. And then the next phase, which is wild because you probably experiences, you're getting like a adrenaline dump of it. Oh, I just popped up on the foil. Like I paddled onto foil. I activated this foil. Now I'm flying. But it's transitioning all of that and focusing, calming your mind, and now you're like, okay, now I gotta play like 3D chess, you know. And it's
2 games.
It's 2 games, right? And that's what makes, in my opinion, SUP foiling like.
You can
just
say it.
ultimate
You can say it. It's better.
Not better, but it's
Just kidding.
because I like what you mentioned earlier about, you know, proning is just ultimate consequence. I mean, there's consequence too when you have a paddle, because if you're having a hard day and maybe your timing is off or maybe the water's off, there's consequence because you might not know if you can get back up. And
Totally.
we go on runs and we go with guys, and you know, sometimes they got to paddle on their belly for a little bit for bumps to start opening up, and there for sure is consequence. But I remember from those early days, there's nothing like you see a wave and you finally catch it and you get to your feet, you're like, ooh, I'm up now, like there's no going back now, like I'm going, you know.
What was your worst fail?
My worst fail, I did a Hawaii run and I fell outside of Wailupe, and it was just a speed breach, and I was riding the 170 and I had to paddle like 45 minutes in. Yeah, that was my
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
On what
in.
size board?
This was I think I was riding a Robin Johnson at the time.
Short.
Yeah, it was just it was a 170 wing, which is big for now, right? And I think the wing was so big and our skill set wasn't there yet. We didn't know how to manage speed because we were just riding Kaikos. And from now that we're doing runs all the way from China, so you know that Kaikos is actually super JV compared to the Bay. And so I think we didn't know how to manage all the speed or read the lines.
Extra bumps.
The extra bumps, the extra energy. And so, you know, those little technical errors happen. And, you know, that was earlier when we're, you know, working out all the kinks of our voyaging skills, and had to do it. I've had some gnarly struggles on the SUP too, right? What I've been learning the last few years is how important gear selection is with your board, even your foil, in regards to your weight and your condition and your approach. Because, you know, when we were learning on these boards. These are rockets compared to what we had before. But my board was a 6.0, 78 liter board, and it was 20 inches narrow, which was narrow for the time.
You underwater to your knees when you stand?
Pretty much. Stand up, and you're digging so hard to get out of the hole up the plane, and if a bump didn't come within 15 seconds,
you're gassed.
Completely gassed from trying to just keep the board straight because it was so tiny, and then just balancing your legs.
I can't believe you guys even ever did this.
It's wild. And you literally had maybe 8, depending how, I mean, I was fit, but anything after a solid 5, 6, 7 attempts, I started worrying because I'm going further into the bay, my gas tank is going down, I don't have enough fuel to like get up and go. And so there's definitely some critical moments in. You know, last year when I was in France, I was racing a new board and new wing, and I showed up the starting line and it was bumps are tiny. It'd be like trying to take off at probably like Suisse, you know, like just, it's windy, but there's no bumps, and just, it was critical. I couldn't get up, and like And that was more of a mental thing too, because here I am like Mr. Voyager going over to race, and people were calling me pro, like oh, the pros from Hawaii are here, and pro, I couldn't even get up. It was so shaming and embarrassing. But not only physically, but you start to see how like mental it is. And then when you choose the right gear, you have to be on the right gear. And even through the camp, we'd see that where guys would come and their gear would work back home, but here out in a different bump with different energy and different influences of different textures of water, and how different gear could work in different places.
For sure.
And so I've been doing this for downwind sup for maybe 3-4 years now, but I'm still learning and still feeling new sensations, and it's stoked, stoking me out. And I'm pumped for you because you did the 80s race yesterday. First time, I was like, in the race meeting, I was actually trying to talk you out of it. You remember that?
Bro, come on. What, everyone else is going to do it? I know.
But, the lifeguard in me, I was trying to, like, give you, the devil's advocate perspective. Hey, man, if you fall down, like, you have to probably paddle across Hanamo Bay before you get, because all the backwash is gnarly and wild. It's so hard to balance, but at the same time, you're the wizard, man. Like the way I still highly respect the way that you look at bumps, and even when I was seeing you, just seeing your like playful attitude or playful approach and like attitude in downwind.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So I was pumped, man. So what was that like from yesterday?
Oh, man.
Being a part of a race in new waters, what were you feeling? What was some of the challenges or?
Well, we went into it as a participant. It was not to race because my wing looked like one of the original Lift 200s. It was, everyone's on such high tech, tiny wings. It's crazy, and so I knew it was just, let's just go and hang out with everybody. And I didn't know there was going to be an 80s section. I thought it was just China's, and then everyone's like, well, everyone's doing 80s, and literally all my friends. So we're just going to go and do it. If there's any time, it's probably now. At least there's a jet ski on the water.
Right.
And we went to go do the run, and it was beautiful. You and I got to walk down into the pond.
Yeah.
And there were foilers everywhere. And we went so far outside, and it was action. The bumps were strong and big. And I stood up, and it was way more bumps than I've ever tried to stand up in. And it took me a good minute to like find the right balance. And then I popped up, and it was pretty exciting. Like I pulled myself down a mountain. Yeah. It wasn't like wasn't a China's pop up where you kind of like pop up and start riding. I had enough as I took off. It was sick. And then it was the best bumps I've been on in SUP so far yet, and it was super fun until we got to Hanama, and then it went from super fun to super intense. I think I get pump. I gotta like warm up a little bit before I go because I had pretty severe body pains as I went through Hanama. It was so intense. That 180 kind of dipped, so it was a lot of back foot pressure to hold it up and stay crouched. There were some really big bumps out there, and the craziest part is at the end everyone was like, "Yeah, it's kind of small, like not that good, not that crazy." So I honestly I can't even imagine what it would be like if it was like significantly larger. But we got step one, so we'll get smaller wings and we'll try it when it's bigger. But it was sick coming around Hanama. I've never been out there, and it was the bumps are going in every direction and at you and out, and it's probably the most 3D chess you can play, that one. It was sick. I liked it. And then I came around to China's. I was super stoked. I was like, yeah, I made it. And like this little wave comes out of the side and just hits my board. And I went down, and then it was it was like tiny backwashy, so it's hard to get up for a couple minutes. But I had a really good race. Other than that, it wasn't a race for me. It was just a really great run.
Enjoying it.
I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
It was thoroughly kept me in the moment. Legs felt a lot better after I went down, so it was surf time, and I was happy I was on the 180. It did it nice.
The rest of the bay was small, and you're probably on the right gear for that. Because it's interesting going through the Hanama Bay section. So as you start getting better, you obviously want to start downsizing your wing to go faster, but it makes the paddle up a lot harder, obviously. But when you go through sections like that, it's actually easier on your body because you're not fighting the wings so much. So, and then it's easier to just kind of accelerate over the bumps, and you can mow bumps rather than staying slow with it, and the water's moving faster than you. And that section's crazy because, yeah, it's so hard to go slow there because the water's moving so fast. And then by the time you're chasing bumps, they disappear, or maybe a backwash chop hits you, and then you gotta, kind of reevaluate your whole situation. But that's what's exciting for me. Looking forward to seeing your progression is the better and more solid you get with tuning your gear, getting a good board, paddling up. You're gonna be on small wings, and small wings are also even more surfier.
Yeah,
more
for
radical,
sure. I know. I'm excited. I was only on the money because it's all I got right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. I'd like to, it's cool watching everyone pound so hard and go so fast on such tiny gear, and seem like those little wings can still do it in conditions that I wouldn't. So it's cool to see the gear evolve. I'm about to go back home, and I assume that the next time I come back, the gear's gonna look even crazier. Like I saw Kane's wing, and that's in my mind just a complete redesign on what we think we should be riding. Like now we're back on a really tiny wing with like a narrow. It's not nearly as wide of a wingspan. Yes, and I mean to me I'd like to try one of those.
Yeah.
What surfy is?
They're super surfy, but from the several guys that I spoke to before around King during the race, they were just saying how easy it looked for him. Like he was cruising and gliding, and on a small wing in small conditions. So I'm tripping on that, Because like you said, we're definitely reevaluating what's ideal, and it's coming full.
I mean, the shape has gone from dinner plate to kind of airplane wing to like super crazy airplane wing, and then I kind of like how we're going back to like hot dog with better contours,
crazy contours, different foil sections, and yeah, it's wild, man. So do you remember foiling with Andrew at all when we were proning? And look at him now, he's stomping out races.
100%. I know.
Super elite. Yeah.
It's really impressive to watch how hard he works for it.
Yeah.
I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to watch and see people who want it in a way that I don't.
Yeah. I remember him showing up, and we were already foiling for, maybe probably 50 Pecos runs in. Nah, maybe less. He started actually coming around really early, but he was like the young kid from Maui, had like a weird shaped board. You remember it?
Oh yeah,
Andrew.
It was kind of round.
It was like a surfboard that had tracks in it, and he still had fin boxes in his prone board. But I remember he was looking at his gear and so like, wow, this guy's gonna send it on that. But that he would make it.
And now he's like the best.
Now he's stomping it out and just crushing, So it's cool to see all the guys from the early days, like yourself, Andrew, all of us.
Where you chose to go with it.
And where it's gone, but like how we've all, grown as a crew, What were some of your favorite things from those early days?
How many guys we could fit into a truck was pretty exciting. I really liked that. I liked
a little side note before we go any further. Wiz is toted the Wiz for his bump reading and his approach, but also for people who know from those early days of fitting boards into trucks. That was another part of his 3D chess where we're maxing out at 4 boards. And he would find a way to put
4 more.
angle the board, flip it, put it from the side, and we put 8 boards, and it was like crazy Tetris, man.
For Tetris.
So even in the capsule, we'd see that we'd be piling all these boards in, and he'd be like, over here, let's move it, and it was wild,
But the 3D mind.
Yeah. But it's special times, man. Yeah, so go on.
Most special times. I mean, yeah, there were a few days that were 10s that we just kept sending and sending and sending, and how many trucks do we got? Reset the trucks and keep going. Hush, little monster. Yeah, those days that we really packed the whole crew, everyone jumping off the rock together. And then it was really special if you ended up flying with your homie.
Yeah.
That was the coolest because, it's the takeoff spot is kind of a 1, maybe 2 people at a time kind of thing. So to get everyone up flying together was pretty special. I mean, even now it's still pretty special if you can link it up with your friend out there. If the bumps are really good and you both happen to be on the same bump or right next to each other, it's almost like riding the same wave together. It's almost like being in the same barrel together. Yeah, me and Kavika had one really special one right before sunset in the good old days, and I remember screaming at him so it was like being in the tube together. Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah.
Beach, love you, bro. That's all about it. Hitchhiking, I was never good at that, but if we brought Kahi, you can just hide the bearded holly guy in the bushes, and then we put Kahi, local, happy, Captain Planet. He'd throw the shaka, they'd pull over, and then then we jump in.
So funny about Kai, I would reach out to companies, before our camps. Hey, we're having these camps soon. Maybe partnership around. Ghosted. Kahi, whatever in whatever same way, he'd send the same email. And boom, they'd be like, yeah, we want to
send the same email.
Yeah. But he has a special talent.
He does
for that.
He is.
Yeah.
He is a people's person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kai's him.
We love you, Kai.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, wild, man. So you're going back home. You'll be in Utah. Are you gonna go back and just not? I mean, you probably just snowboard your brains out.
No, I'm gonna go back. It's 100 degrees.
100 degrees?
Yeah, we're not doing any snowboarding. No snowboarding for a while. Probably till realistically December. So I'm gonna have to find ways to occupy myself.
You think you're gonna ever strike Mish up to
100%?
Or
I mean,
California?
half the reason why I needed to crack the code was because then
How far away is it? Like if you were to drive
to Hood?
It's pretty far, yeah.
Oh, that's too far. I don't want to do that. I'd rather fly.
Fly, yeah.
It'd be fun. Road trips are fun. I mean, we do Denver. It's 8 hours. We'll do it twice in 2 days. So it's not that bad. But
I feel like there's still a lot of room for exploration on the mainland. I know they sometimes have a downwind race for canoes in, for example, Lake Tahoe, right? Sometimes
there's surf in Lake Tahoe when it gets the right type of storms on either end. So yeah, I bet you could strike Mish at Tahoe downwinder.
Dude, Gage was in Minnesota. They had a storm and he foiled, I think, one of the Great Lakes. I can't remember which one.
What?
He showed the footage. It was insane. He said it was like a 10 on a 10.
Why did he have his gear?
He had his gear.
Just because he knew?
He actually he went up on a work trip and was able to just link up with a local, borrow the board and a setup. And he said it was unbelievable, like 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, the zones are pretty much like becoming, we don't even have an idea of how much zones there are.
And to me, that's the most exciting thing, because now, when we were on our pros, we were limited to where we could catch a wave with wind line near it, and what's the access like. But if you're out there with your board and your stuff and your paddle, and once you start getting better with your technique, you can dig yourself out of any oil and really just go on a adventure, you know,
A voyage.
a true voyage. And that's what it's been since day one, you know.
I like have dreams of like having a like a backpack like one with supplies.
Yeah.
And like I was talking to Dane and told him it would be sick if you went trade winds down the Pali.
Mm-hmm. Dane Wilson? Which Dane?
Kauai Dane.
Oh, Kauai?
Like-
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dane McBride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Down coast, time it right before a Kona storm. Go down a couple days, Camp Kalalau, wait for the west winds, back to Hanalei.
That would be wild. Yeah. Or you could just go all the way to Polihala and camp at Polihala and you get picked up on that.
Yeah, but like I like the in and
True.
out on my own.
There and back.
You know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the lack of needing the shuttle
Mhm.
is a magic trick. I think if we could, I think that's gonna be. That'll be like scoring. Some really misto kind of wave would be timing storms in like I downwinded there and back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like a whole nother space too, is just those full on adventure runs. And you see guys doing it around the world now too, where they're just sending big runs, new places, new routes. And it's cool, man. Like it's like from like the Christopher Columbus days, and just full on exploration. Our sport is so young and the world is so big, and 4 years ago we were tripping out when guys were foiling in a river, in Hood River. What giant bucks.
What giant?
So we'll actually be going there the week after Molokai. So if this drops before that, Scotty, myself, Kai, and a couple of the other instructors, we're gonna be up there having a great time, and I'm totally looking forward to it. And I haven't been to Hood River. I had a traumatic Hood River experience the first time I went, so I'm stoked to go and just put on the surf.
You only been one time.
And just shred. Yeah.
And it was not good.
Oh man, you didn't hear the story?
No.
Oh man. Yeah. See, how far out removed Scotty was from the scene, because he was
Snowman.
gone, or snowman, mountain man. I was in Hood River in September, so it's kind of a fickle time. But I had planned this trip. I had reached out to some of the locals because we were proning at the time. Say, hey, like maybe I could have a jet ski assist, because I could step off and we'll just be stoked to dial in over there. That was like a backup option. I was basically just still procrastinating on the whole SUP movement. So I had a very late start. I had known I was going to Hood River maybe 2 months out, but I didn't really start learning or dedicating time to it until I was like swoops out.
Suck.
Yes, which was not enough for the boards that we were on at the time. I was on my first downwind attempt was a Keiko's run, and I was on some just bathtub looking board. And I stood up and I did a full 360 on my first stroke. Whoa! I was like, whoa! This is gonna be impossible, brah. Impossible to like catch a bump. So I paddled back in to try and catch a wave. So, after 20 minutes of that, I said, whoa, this is not
Paddling
happening.
in circles.
Yeah, paddling in circles. I paddled back into the surf line to try and catch a wave. Couldn't do that. Try to catch a wave on my belly. Couldn't do that. Just because the new board and all the new sweet spots of your stance and the flow and the sensation was all off. I ended up taking 3 hours to go from Keiko's to Tom's. 3 hours, bro. Wild. But by the end of it, I was like stoked and happy, because I'd be paddling like 10 seconds at a time on the board, like
Going straight.
So that was it. So I was okay. I gotta readdress everything. Got into the surf. Right before I hopped on a plane to go to Hood River, I could catch waves, but it would take everything out of me to like catch a wave, keep the board straight, keep it from sinking. So I go up to Hood River. Winds are fickle because it's not really season. I link up with TJ from Big Winds, borrow a board, go down to the hatchery, which is, I guess, the spot. I pull up with my wife and kids, bust out my gear. Everyone over there, I mean, SUP was still maybe a new sport. There wasn't a lot of people doing it. Most of the guys were winging or windsurfing at the time. Pull up to the spot. There's all a crew of uncles at a picnic table, 10 of them or so, and I'm like, "Yeah, from Hawaii." They're like, "Whoa, we got a real Hawaiian here." Like, I tell them whatever, "Yeah, I'm gonna take up the SUP and go down. Like, I do this all the time in Hawaii, you know, like." Said rather the foil, I was showing them the videos of the Voyager stuff, and it was all pumped. I paddle out, and I'm just doing the full kook, you know. And Hood River is unique because the shoreline's here, and you paddle out here. So, like, I was within like distance to like for people to throw a rock at me. I was that close, and it was so funny. I look at my wife and kids are playing, and I see like those guys walk over to my wife to just make sure I was okay. And my wife told me like, yeah, like they were like asking me if I needed help or if I was okay, and I was just couldn't pop up, falling 45 minutes in one spot. Right, the wind blows this way, the river comes this way, so I was literally in a treadmill in one spot, and I didn't get up on the foil at all. And
Were there bumps?
yeah, it was blowing. So it was glassy, and then probably at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it started blowing 15, like a nuking 15 miles an hour, and it just started to like baby range, like whoa, and I was like frothing, like
Baby rage.
yeah, it wasn't raging, but it was like whoa,
Action.
like, action, you know, and you get excited because you don't think it was possible to see whitecaps on a river,
Yeah.
you know, for us at the time, how frothy we were with bumps. But anyway, couldn't get up, paddle back in, so shame, and it was just like my first huge humble pie moment, because here I am, did this full Hood River trip, was like totally embarrassed because here I was, a Hawaiian guy, Hawaiian foiler, boom, couldn't get up. Rather, it's out that I needed to get rescued. Didn't foil at all. Came home fully unsuccessful. Came back home, and that's when I started putting in the work. And
Hardest sport ever.
hardest sport ever in that. But I'm stoked to be going back. 'Cause now
Yeah.
we're gonna go shred. It's gonna.
You're gonna pop up.
Okay. Yeah,
You're gonna pop
I don't
up.
want to say guarantee, but I better pop up, and it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna shred, and it's gonna be a good time with the boys. It's gonna be.
You're gonna pop up.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked, and I'm stoked for you, man, because Hood River is a special place where the bumps are so steep and so easy to ride that you're gonna put on a small wing, and you're gonna put on.
We're gonna shred town.
And we're gonna go to shred. I'm totally looking forward to it.
Where are those KT waves getting released?
We'll have if call King Riders. There's King. Send us a proto for Scotty.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna blow up the internet because everyone's gonna see how high level Scotty is.
Nah. We're just gonna stand there and kind of try to wave the arms around too.
Yeah. Style King, Style King, and just shredding and approaching, and it's gonna be an awesome time. And yeah.
Oh.
Any other last reflections on Downwinding or before we sign off?
No, you know, if people are there trying to learn how and you're having a hard time but you really want it and you're looking for a good experience in Hawaii, come to the camp, because I was a student of the camp as much as I was a teacher, and it was such a good time. Everyone had such a good time, and you learned so much, and you spend a week in the water with that being your entire intention, and that it felt good, and I recommend it to anyone who's even curious. And if that's not for you, then, you know, slug it out. Like, the way to be high on life is do hard things.
100%. Yeah. Diamonds are made under immense pressure.
Yeah.
Right? And going back to, seeing diamonds everywhere, that's crazy. Full of time, right?
Right?
Which is downwinding, just struggling and then just chasing diamonds. That's what it's all about.
Love you, bro. So good.
Happy. Thanks, Luna.
Tuna. Tuna's a good baby.
She's a good baby.
You just hang out, huh?
Right on. Yeah, so look for our footage in Hood River. It's going to be a blast. and we're gonna be shredding. I can't wait. We've been too like not foil brained and trying to. It's gonna be nice to just turn it all off and just shred. You know, especially after racing. That's my favorite time of foiling is after Molokai, when everything is done and all the beds are all made, and now we go out on runs and we're having fun, we're laughing, and there's no pressure, there's nothing, and there's
You guys are tap racing.
yeah. It's gonna I like it. I feel obligated to do it. I don't want to do it every year. I mean, you know, because I'm getting older. Like I don't have that drive. Because I think when you're young, you're like every year. And do every year, you know, and then I did a lot of crossing, and it's just I want to do it now as it's
Taking off, right?
Taking
That was a
off.
good time. It's prime time. It's the golden age.
yes.
In the
But
golden age.
the second racing turns into like a chore, and you don't want to do it anymore. It's just that's
Task.
not.
Yeah. That's
But for me, what I like about racing right now is how quickly things progress, because we're always on a chase to go faster. So I'm feeling new sensations all the time.
sick.
Trying to dial, right? And so it's, to me, that's what's exciting.
I like being a little behind.
Yeah.
Like let everyone kind of test it out, figure it out.
I mean, that's smart too, you know?
yeah, just ride big old fat wings until we know which ones are the ones. There's so many options now.
Chats. I mean, even getting in on a better board. And when you took out the Barracuda for the first time, you know, versus taking on a 6.0, I'm just feeling how impossible that could.
Totally.
So there's no shame in that too.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. Do it how you gotta do it.
Yeah, but do hard things, bro.
Do hard things.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna leave this with. Do hard things.
Right on. Thank you guys. Oh well.